Hello to everyone joining us. Hopefully we'll be having Peter along in a moment and we'll get started. Dan Blackwell, hard man from down south, saved my arse plenty of times on shows, has just joined us. Fran Hennessy, is that Mick's daughter? Because if it is, I think we'll be talking about you in a couple of years to come. I watched one of your sparring videos the other day. One of our amateur boxers joined us, Rosalind. Going to be winning some national titles this year. I can see Peter Fury's on here, so I'm just waiting for the request off him to join us. Thanks, Fraser. Peter, if you're on with us, you have to press the request button when you first come on, so I can allow you into the chat. But yeah, when you first come on, there's a request to join the live. You have to press that, and then I'll bring you in. And yes, well, if it is you, Fran, I was very impressed. Your dad sent me a sparring video to watch, and very impressed. Today we're going to be speaking, we're going to be asking Peter's opinion on the show we've got this weekend. We're then going to be talking about Hughie Fury's fight. Be talking about Savannah Marshall. Maybe talk about some of Peter's former fighters. We'll be taking questions off the people on here. And then to finish off, me and Peter are just going to have a chat about boxing, and you can listen in to see what we've got to say about all manner of things boxing. Peter, if you want here, you have to find the request button that comes up when you first join. When you first join the chat, it comes up, there's a request to join the live. You have to press that, and then I can let you on the live. I can't just summon you on. Sent you one. Turns out you can.
Yeah.
There we are, Peter. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. How are you, John?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm kind of in the same position as you. We got fights this weekend, and it's at the stage where the work's done, and we just want to get in there with the fighters. I'm sure you're feeling the same, Peter.
Yeah, it's we've just arrived here in the bubble this morning, and yeah, we're just in this now and waiting to get the results, and that's it. We'll go downstairs and get on with it.
Yeah. Peter, I was just saying to the people who are joining us, we're going to have a little chat about Mick's show this weekend. Then We'll have a chat about, obviously, your big fights. And then, if you don't mind, we'll talk about Savannah and maybe some of your other boxers.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And then this is purely for me. This isn't for anyone else. At the end, we'll just have a talk about boxing. But that's just for me.
Good,
if you want to listen, I'm happy with that. So this show this weekend, Peter, on Channel 5, Mckenna's show.
Yeah.
I know you know some of the fighters. Michael Hennessy Jr., not been the luckiest of people, and he kind of blows out the water that promoters have referees in their pocket with some of the decisions Michael's endured. What's your thoughts on Michael, and how do you think he's going to do this weekend?
I just think at his age, he's such a young lad. I don't think it matters dropping a points decision. I think it's irrelevant. It's all good learning. Look, what it is with young fighters is like fitting a hand in a glove. They've got to get it to fit, and then when they get the style and what works for them, then they can start polishing it properly. And that's all it is with young Michael. Where he puts his jab, where he's comfortable. In his last fight, he was going forward a lot on a short fighter, which didn't help. Jab was very high in the air, so it's all about tweaks. He's just got vast amounts of time, but he is talented, and I've no doubt he will get there.
Yeah. I actually took Sam down to have a little spar with Michael the other week because I wanted Michael to see that a loss don't mean anything if you're going forward and you're learning off it. And I wanted him to kind of see Sam's attitude. He had a few early losses and he just got on with it. And I think Michael kind of took it on board. I think he kind of saw what it's developed, helped Sam to develop into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just a sec, John, because somebody's at the door here. Just 1 sec. Yeah, fire away.
There's someone seen you on the live, Pete, and they're playing knock door run. You know what they're like.
They must be doing something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I agree with Michael. And I think, you've kind of done the same thing with Hughie. As a heavyweight, he was boxing fights where he shouldn't have really been in. And people judge them like they're 29 years old. And it's not the case. That's how I see it.
I think when you're young, you've got to grow up. And this is no different in boxing if you're doing swimming or whatever. You've got to grow into the sport. And, a loss only matters if you're in your mid-30s and, and you're having back-to-back losses. That doesn't matter. But when you're a young lad coming through, the odd loss here and there doesn't matter. It's a matter of fact, because you don't get put in decent competition, you're not going to learn.
Peter, your phone's going a little bit quiet, mate. It keeps going a little bit quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I think you learn, don't you? When if you don't get tested, I don't mean tested radically, but if you don't get tested early on, and you're not going to learn anything, are you?
No, I totally agree. Is that better now? Because I can hear Peter properly. People are saying they can't hear, but is that okay now? I think everyone stopped. I think that's good now. Just saying as well, Peter, we've been joined by Isaac Chamberlain, Adam Harper. We've got some really good pros joining us, so we've got to be careful what we say, Peter, because they'll be pulling us up afterwards. You know what they're like.
I got nothing to say. They're all good fighters, so
no, if we get the ounces of gloves wrong and stuff, they'll be jumping on us. They won't let us off with any technical mistakes.
Well, I've got Hughie next door. He'll have to come and help me out.
I've got no one. We've got the two Mckenna brothers on this show, Peter. Have you seen much of those guys, Aaron and Stevie Mckenna?
I haven't seen much of them, no, so I can't really comment too much.
I'll just give a little what's it on those guys. Aaron is the younger one, but the more experienced. He's a nice box fighter. He looks to be being brought along well at 21. Stevie, who's 23, I'm not sure if he's a good box fighter because, honestly, Peter, he's basically a lunatic. He's one of them fighters who just says, here's my chin and my fist, so I'm gambling him against yours. So I think we're going to have some excitement with him, but I think someone's going to have to rein him in. Right, just in a question, Peter. I was going to leave the questions to the end, but it's a good question, so I'm going to ask it you. James Helder of obviously the iFilm TV fame has joined us.
Yeah.
And he says, Peter, as a trainer of heavyweights, how would you improve or help Daniel Dubois?
He needs to just take stock of it. Let's not forget, he is young. He's 23, and there's no big thing in it. Somebody mentioned to me only yesterday, when Anthony Joshua, what happened in with Ruiz in the first fight, so it wasn't as bad as that. So like I said, he's bounced back from it. Things happen with young fighters, especially in the heavyweights. So, he'll just bounce back. But for him to improve, he needs to relax more, stop looking for the knockout, so when the shots come at him, he's not taking them so flush on because his head was totally still and he was just looking for the big shot all the time. And, he was easily out jabbed.
Yeah.
So I think he's got all the skill. He's got a very good team at the back of him. And I just think he's just got to relax and say to himself, ease into it. That's all he's got to do. Take his time more rather than looking for the big KO because as well as what I do. When you step up on the world scene, that KO's not there. You've got to unlock the door first with the jab.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't come. You can't throw big haymakers everywhere and think they're going to land.
Yeah, I think sometimes the progression in matching is important because you can't go from being totally dominant against somebody who really knows what they're doing. I often say to people, if somebody doesn't throw a right hand at you for 10 fights, you forget that right hands get thrown. Yeah. And I think the progression in the matchmaking has really got to be looked at with Daniel Dubois now to really
I think
bring
it was
out what he's got.
I do think it was the right fight for him to take because he knows what he's got to work on. He knows where he belongs. He knows what level he's at. If he was fighting kindergarten dummies, well, he could be 25-0 fighting for a world title and then find out the hard way.
Yeah.
So best to find out now because he's done him no harm at all. Joe Joyce is a very good fighter and a very good world level fighter. So it's no disrespect or because he's lost to somebody. He's lost to a world class heavyweight who's capable of winning a world title. So like I said, he's all to gain from it, and that's how he's got to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. And up until where the injury forced himself out of the fight, it was a close fight. It weren't like he was outclassed and didn't know what he was doing. Just a little bit of experience and fighting anybody's hard, but fighting them with one eye, it's not an easy job. But yeah,
well, that's the key. Agree. That's the key. There's not much for him to work on, as you said. He's all intent, looking to land that big dig. And, basically he's got boxing pays the bills, use the jab, work his way in, and the power's there when you need it. You don't go keep looking for it round after round because, that's where he's come. That's the only thing he's just got to get right. And I'm sure now he knows what it's all about. He will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've got to say, Peter, I'm having a lot more pro boxers joining me today when you're with me. I've just seen Lerone Richards has joined us, former British champion. Grant Dennis, former Southern Area champion. Kid. So I'll have to get you on more often because I'm getting some attention now you're on here. So that's pretty good.
Right, yeah.
Danny Quartermain, unbeaten pro from Leamington, has just joined us. He made his debut on our show. Looked very exciting. Keeping on to Mckenna's show, Pete. The main event, and I know it's someone that you've chatted with me about, and I've asked your opinion and asked a bit of advice every now and then. Sam Eggington, what do you make of Sam's fight, and what do you think of where Sam's at 27 years of age? Because a lot of people forget he's aged.
Listen, he's definitely a fighting man to his backbone, isn't he?
Yeah.
All you can do is respect somebody like Sam, to be honest. He's in good fights. He's never in a dull fight. I just think, like you said, he's 27. A little bit more boxing finesse he needs. Take his time, get behind that jab. Again, look, I don't think you can ever beat head movement. When that head's moving, when you throw that jab, reposition. You feint the jab, reposition.
I hope Sam's listening to this because what I've been telling you for 9 years, it's been reinforced there.
Yeah. I can't stress enough, the upper body movement is key, in the sport, because you're in a sport in the head business, So if you're not feinting a lot, you're not moving your head a lot, you're going to get it. So that's what happens. But I think, again, these fighters, it's just small tweaks to be made, very small tweaks. They just got to get in their head and just keep practicing, not doing the same thing. Look, you can be decent at something, keep doing it, and you'll polish, but you'll always be decent. But if you think outside the box a bit and then practice that, what you can't really do too clever, then you come from being decent to good to exceptional. That's what makes world champions.
I always tell fighters, Peter, don't practice in sparring what you're good at. You're already good at that. Practice what you're bad at, because the other guy is going to be concentrating on the stuff you're not good at. They're not going to be trying to fight you on your high levels. They're going to try to fight you on your
exactly. 100%. I'm just going again. Just 1 second. What's that for? That's Hughie wants to give me more food. I'm fat enough already.
I hope whoever delivered that had a mask on, just for safety.
Yeah. Go on.
No,
sorry about that.
I don't know if you the other guys on the card. We've got Idris Virgo, the Love Island contestant, who's been making some waves with his shenanigans. I manage Idris, and I'm not a fan of those shenanigans at all, Peter, to be honest. But it's got him on TV. It's got him fighting regular. So,
you've only got to look at
Logan on that kind of stuff.
Well, listen, you've only got to look at Logan Paul fighting Mayweather. I don't know where he belongs in the division. I've never even seen him box.
Yeah,
belong anywhere. He's a YouTuber, isn't he? But like I said, look, if fans want to see it, it's a good. That Love Island's very good for getting the young people noticed. So if it propels them in their careers, great, fantastic.
Another question because after this question, I'm going to move on to the show you're at this weekend. Some of the lads on this show, some of them are my lads, some of them aren't, some of them are new lads. Some of them are working with Mckenna for the first time on Channel 5. What can these lads expect from Mckenna? Because you've probably worked with Mckenna longer than most people in the game and are still working with him. What can they expect off Mick? And, what's your opinion of what they're going to get given and how they're going to get pushed?
Well, it's easy for me to say because he's a very long-standing friend of mine, but I can only speak the truth, and that's the reason why we got a tight bond. Is all the things he's done for us in the past. You know how he was there. You know he's one of these, Mick. He'll fight your corner to the death. You know that's how he is.
Yeah,
he's a proper loyal man. You know he's not into the razzmatazz. You know he's very quiet. He's laid back, but he does what you get on the tin. You know let's put it this way. You know we got Hughie got to #1 WBO. Nobody could finance his fight. We done a deal without mentioning anybody's names. That got reneged on the pay-per-views and all that. So, anybody else would have said, look, Hughie, it's a world title fight. Parker wants 1.5 million. It ain't going to happen. What did Mick do? He said, listen, we'll get it on. We'll pay for it. Let's get it on. And then because the pay-per-views got reneged on, we had 3 weeks left. And Mick said, fuck it, stick it on YouTube. So like I said,
he found a way to do it.
He found a way to do it, yeah, and put his money where his mouth is. That fight cost all of 1.7, 1.8 million pound. That fight, who paid for that? Hennessy Sports paid for that.
Yeah,
and for a young kid at 22 years of age.
Yeah.
So that's the type of character. That's the type of man you're dealing with. So I can never repay that respect what he's done for this family, because Mick's done great things for this family and continues to do so.
Well, people have been asking me about age of sign and all that, and I says, Mick doesn't sign as many other people's, because when he signs someone, he's putting everything he's got into him. So I says he won't just sign people willy-nilly, because he knows when he signs, he's committing. Do you think that's kind of right, what I was saying there to some of the people asking, Pete?
I think so. It's like anything else. If you want to do things properly, and you want to protect the fighter, you want to put your life into them. It is this sport. Look, that fighter's going in there, he's risking his life. So the dedication that goes in is on another level. And Mick's right. He's got to put all of his time into it. It takes years. I think to build a fight from start to finish, it can take a minimum of 5 to 10 years. We ain't got that time to waste. So, unless you can see a proper, true world potential champion, and you're going to put your life into him. There's a lot more, if somebody said to me, look, come and trade me, there's £1 million, I'd say, no, fuck off. I'm not interested. I don't really know you. And how can I turn you around in 5 minutes?
I got to admit, if there's £1 million and Peter won't do it, I will.
Yeah, well, I'm exaggerating,
No, you said it. Yeah. You said it now, Pete.
Yeah. But, it's just... To put fighters...
No, of course, yeah, of course.
To get fighters, it's all about small increments, and they take time. They take months. They take years. It takes a long time to build a fighter to world championship level. But like I said, when they're there, it's a great feeling. So, but but Mick, he is right what he's saying. You need that commitment, and the fighters has got to give the commitment back. It's not like a 2-minute thing, or let's sign them up and get on with it. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. Right, we spoke about the Hennessy Sports Show. Now let's move on to something that's probably been occupying every minute of your time for the last 3 or 4 months. How's Hughie looking for his fight this Saturday? Sorry.
Hughie's looking fantastic. He's well ready, and he's excited. And let's see what people's got to say after this fight.
How's his training on, Pete? How many rounds sparring has he had for this? Because I always think heavyweights probably spar a bit less. So I've never trained a heavyweight, so it's something I'm really interested to ask myself.
Normally they would, but Hughie sparred 4 times a week, and he's done between anything from 8 to 12 rounds 4 times a week.
So his sparring's been tip-top then?
Yeah, he's had a lot of sparring. He's been sparring for 8 weeks. Probably at least 8 weeks solid.
And Hughie's 26, 27 now, is he?
He's just turned 26.
Are you seeing a difference in Hughie physically?
A lot, yeah. Well, we've only got to look. I keep saying this, but that he's now done probably a 10-week camp, and he's 17 stone 8 on the scales. So it's a lot bigger. So he's bigger, he's stronger, he's more mature as well. And that confidence is there. So like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing him operate. So it's going to be good. There's a big difference in him as well.
Yeah, I was chatting to someone about Hughie the other day, Peter, and
Yeah.
what I was saying is someone like Hughie who turned pro early for anyone, especially a heavyweight, they actually learn a lot of tricks because when you're 20, 21, you can't bulldoze grown men. So you have to learn all the crafty things. But then
Yeah.
when your strength comes, you've still got them crafty tricks in the box. You see a lot of young lads who are strong as a young age. When people catch them up strength-wise, they've got no knowledge. Do you think actually lacking strength, like physical man strength, but still boxing pro, is going to turn out to be an advantage for Hughie as he physically develops into like a full man in his late 20s?
I think you've hit it on the nail, John. You know, he's had to learn and he's had to navigate his way through. You know, he's been 5 years ahead of his time in the sport because he turned pro at 18, you know, and he's not like being, you know, forget the appearance of him. He's been like a young lad in a man's body. You know, you've got to mature in all types of ways, you know, mentally and physically. So, like I said, he has been well ahead of his time, but there's a big difference in him now, and he's got all that skill set. And let's be honest, you know, as a young man that's not really coming to his maturity years yet, he's been in with all world level fighters. You know, he's been in with good fighters. You know, and he's never been disgraced in any of them. As a matter of fact, he just hasn't done enough himself. But now, you know, that's all put behind. He's been learning. He's had good learning fights. And now what people should see Saturday is what these type of learning fights do for young fighters coming through. Because, you know, it's all about change. You know what they've done wrong. And young fighters keep progressing. They keep changing up what they're not doing. And you should get the full package at the end of it.
Yeah, like I say, I've watched Hughie closely because I've had a similar journey with Sam Eggington, turning pro quite early, having to take fights where he's got a lot of disadvantages because you know, at 20 years old, he was fighting Denton Vassell. At 21, he was fighting for the British. At 21, he was fighting Bradley Skeet, who was a 28-year-old accomplished guy. So, but he's been learning off them. And I always say to the lads, don't worry about the journey as long as you're not getting hurt. Worry about where you're getting to. Worry about the finished article. In the 50s and 60s, guys like Hughie would have been just getting ready for like area level at 27 fights and just learning their craft. You know, world level, they'd have been laughing, saying, what, that young lad who's had 20-odd fights? And like it's put on, you know, and I think some of Hughie's fights, 5 years' time, it would have been just a different fight because the difference was he just didn't have that man strength to turn the corner where the other guys just naturally had it. And you can't cheat it. You can't fake man strength. You can't fake physical maturity. And the will, you can't will it. And like I say, some of those fights, and I've seen the same from the corner myself, where you think to yourself, we're up against a guy in his absolute physical prime, and we're nowhere near, and we're losing by 2 points or 3 points. And then when you get there, that's when you want to say to people, now watch what this guy can do. Now watch what he's got to offer. Is that how you feel with Hughie coming up to 26, 27, 28? Do you feel that the job's been done and you're getting to where you envisioned him being? You know what I mean?
Well, it does, because even now, you know, we come down here, we travelled in the car. We don't need to speak much about the boxing. We're talking about other things. You know, he knows this job inside out. You know, he knows what to do. You know, he's not faint-hearted. He'll fight anybody. But like I said, it's all about learning and progressing. And I believe he's there. I think we're going to see the start of the start of Hughie Fury. He's just turned 26. Like I said, he's had 27 fights. This is his 28th. And, you know, he's not fighting dummies either, you know. So, yeah, give one or two, but, you know, he stepped down a level, you know, and he dismantled them. But, you know, it's like whack. Good, durable opponent. We know he went 10 good rounds with Dillian White in Saudi. Always keeps fit. You know, he's a guy, if you stand in front of him, he can hit you. So, and he always comes whack to win. So, these, you know, it's a good level of opponent for what we can get at the moment.
Yeah, Hughie's record, something like 26-3, is it?
He's 27-3.
20, I knew it was something like that. And he's been British champion. He's fought for a world title. One of the things I always say to people, because things that bug me is people who really know what they're on about love to judge certain things. And I turn around and I say, look at some of our great fighters, like Carl Froch, great fighter. What was he doing at 26? He was getting ready for his first British title fight. Cal Yafai, world champion, just winning the British title. Matthew Macklin, triple world title challenger, great fighter. He was just getting beat for the British title at 26. But people judge you like the finished article, and it's one of my pet hates. I'm like, look at Marvin Hagler hadn't even fought for a world title at 26. Hadn't even come close to fighting for one. So why are they judging lads on stuff that the good fighters were not even close to? Judge them on the career, judge them where they're going. It's just a pet hate of mine, and I'm pretty sure, Peter, how do you feel about that when people are judging people like on their whole career when they're in the mid-20s or early 20s? How do you feel about that, Peter?
There's such a long way to go in sport, and heavyweight boxing is different than the lighter weights.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at,
Hughie could have another 6 or 7 years as a heavyweight before he hits the prime we're talking about. Some heavyweights in the early 30s, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's I think it is what it is. Heavyweights, like I said, from 26, they mature. Some smaller heavyweights, just depends on the build and the size of them. You know, what you get. But like I said, it's
and genetics as
no
well.
problem.
Some people are a man at 19 years old and got their man strength. Some people haven't grown a moustache at 29. Do you know what I mean? It's just genetics, and you've got to judge everyone differently. Right, so I don't know if you're the type, Peter. Have you got a prediction for Saturday for us?
I've just told him, get in there and enjoy yourself and let them boxing skills do the talking.
I've predicted Hughie a wide points win myself. That's what when people have asked me, that's what I've predicted. Right, so the rest of the card is, I haven't really looked at the rest of the card because I've been so busy like matching mix. Obviously, there's the AJ fight. Is there anything that really catches your eye on the rest of the card? Obviously, you'll be watching the top of the bill as a fellow heavyweight contender. But is there anything that catches your eye?
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Bacoli and Kuzman, that's a good fight. The other lad, the cruiserweight, is it Akoli? Akoli, yeah, that should be a good fight. Looking to see him. Looking to see the changes Shane McGuigan's made, because he's a very good trainer. So I'm sure he'll have changed him up quite a bit. So and there's other good fights on as well. Who else is on the card, John?
I know Kieran Conway's on, and he was going to be fighting at Sissoko, but that got cancelled. So he's now fighting Macaulay Gowan.
Yeah, you know, well, we've seen Macaulay McGowan. He put up a good fight in Saudi. You know, he comes, he's tough as teak, so that should be a good fight.
An interesting one that they've just added, Florian Marku, the Albanian with like 1 million fans, fighting an old friend of yours, fighter Clifton Mitchell's lad, Alex Fearon. And Alex is 10-2. And I'm going to put it out there just because I like rubbing it in on Clifton in a jokey way. Both of the losses come against my guys in Midlands area title fights. But yeah, that's a good fight because Alex Fearon is a slick boxer. And Marku, he can punch and he can fight, but he hasn't had anyone who really moves yet. So that's a nice little one that's been added. And that's the only one I really noticed, to be honest. But,
well, I like Marco. I've seen him fight, and you know, he comes gold guns blazing. So he's a good addition to that weight division.
I've got to admit, Peter, well. if I was going to put a lad in with Marco, I'd do it now when it's behind closed doors, because I had a lad in with Marco, the only lad who took in the distance actually, and I walked out into the arena, and there was about 1,000 Albanians screaming for our blood, waving flags, going mental. And I'll be honest. Yeah. I zipped my top up because I had a Team Bendon t-shirt on, and I thought, if we knock him over, I want to get out of here alive. I thought, I don't want him to see that I've got the opposition's t-shirt on. So if I was going to put a lad in with them, when there's like not 1,000 fans, I know it shouldn't affect you, but, you know, newer fighters who are fighting that kind of level, walking to ringside with that kind of support, it can be quite daunting. So I think if you're going to fight someone like Marku, fight him now when he hasn't got 1,000 fans screaming at you on the way in. But it's interesting.
You know what? He's a very, he reminds me of a bit of a throwback fighter. I think he's definitely a good talent and one to watch. So, you know, and he comes out, he seems to love it. He's all smiles when he gets in the ring. You know, he can't wait to get in there and do damage and let his fist go. So it's
and he seems game enough as well. He's calling all the names out, and he seems game enough. Right, we spoke about Hughie. You know, don't want to go into any more because I don't want to start accidentally getting tactics out of here before the fight. Let's talk about Savannah Marshall.
Yeah.
Tell us about Savannah, Pete. There's no questions here. Just tell us because it's been a lovely journey. It's been lovely to watch. So just give us 5 minutes on telling us about Savannah Marshall, please.
You know, what is it to say? You know, Savannah was a coming out party, was in her last fight.
Yeah.
You know, we've always knew what she was about, and I think the public now realises exactly what she is. You know, she's a fabulous talent, and we look forward to next year. And you know, as Clarissa Shields said, you know, if I pick up my courage, and you know, I might be able to go to that fight and get Savannah doing it. You know, so you know, because it must. I don't see where I need courage being a cornerman, do you? But there you are.
I didn't think so until there's about 1,000 Albanians and I had the guy's name tattooed on my chest. And then I done my top up because I thought if I've got to make a swift exit here, I don't want the advertising on my chest saying he's a target.
You know what? You know what I look at with boxing, and why I'm a big fan of boxing, and why I'm involved in it, because it's got gladiatorial instincts with it. And I say to my fighters and people around me, you know, did the Spartans turn and run away when the Persians was coming over the hill in the millions?
Yeah,
Did they?
That's why boxers are special people.
Well, exactly.
I always tell people a story. Sam Eggington, he was in the second prize fighter that he was in, and he was fighting Johnny Garton. Now, Johnny is one of the nicest lads in the game, but he's got a huge following of Millwall fans. And that night, Johnny had personally sold 500 tickets, and they was all Millwall. And Sam's he's 19, and we're in the ring in the York Hall where, you know, everyone's at you. And the noise was that loud, I couldn't hear it. I could feel it vibrating on my clothes. And I thought, I hope this don't get to him a little bit. So I turned around to Sam and I said, you know what you got to do, don't you? And he didn't even look at me. He was just staring at God, and he went, you fucking watch what I do now. And he went out, he done his job. He turned around and starts roaring at the Millwall fans on the balcony. And I rush over and I'm like, are you fucking mad? What are you doing? He went, I'm showing him. I said, you've already showed him. You can calm down now and go and see if he's okay. That's what fighters have got, haven't they, Peter?
100%. You know, we've been in the Lions Den a few times, and absolutely, it means zero to me anyway. I'm not interested. That ring, it could be anywhere. It could have a bunch of wild animals outside. You know, as long as they're on chains, it don't matter.
Yeah,
you know, look,
yeah.
Get in there. You know, let them do the thing. But like I said, it's a sport where everything goes on the line. And, you know, that's what I respect about this sport, and that's I think that's why it's got that much of appeal to it.
Yeah. Just had a question come up then, Peter. Somebody could ask Peter, how do you think Florian Marku would do against Conor Benn or Josh Kelly?
I think there's no rush for Marco. He's not had many fights, has he?
7, I think. 7.
Yeah, there's plenty
only one's gone the distance, so it's been quite an early career.
You know, what a fighter this kid's going to be when he's had 14, 15 fights.
Yeah.
You know, why shove somebody in now? Look, there's a thing as well. A kid can be multi-talented and he can be very, very good. Yeah? But if you put him in too early, then they've gone in too early against top opposition. There's no need for that. You know, like I said, he needs to have more fights. I'm not saying whether he's ready now or not. The bottom line is he should have more fights, because if he's doing what he can do now at 7 fights, what's he going to be like when he's had 15?
And he's got a 10-rounder under his belt and stuff like
100%,
that.
100%. So there's no rush. Fabulous little fighter, and he's one to watch. But like I said,
and you can't take a bad defeat back. You know, you can always go and get it when you can always go and get a fight in the future when you need it. But a really bad defeat, you can't take it back once it's done sometimes, you know what I mean?
Well, if you put somebody who's had hardly not a lot of fights and you put them on a world level, you know, they can get sickened as well.
Yeah.
You know, and they can get badly injured as well. So
it's a case of being,
the fighter's the last person to ask, isn't it? You know, you got to guide fighters, because, you know, they'll just say, yeah, put me in.
Yeah. If they don't say, yeah, put me in, there's something missing anyway. It's the job of the team. It's our job to be sensible and careful.
You've got to do the best you can, you know. You know, it's all right thinking I'm the best man on the planet, nobody can touch me. But in reality, that's not so correct if you're not guided properly.
Well, that's why you've got
in time to come, but, you know, people can take world-level fights just too early and make a big mistake.
Good question here, Peter. Someone said, can you ask Peter what he thinks of Yard's trainer and team following the stick they've had after the Arthur fights?
I'm not a disrespectful person, you know, and I don't know what goes on in their teams. It'd be very disrespectful for me to say anything bad, you know. But you know, like I said, you have to train fighters, you know, in a specific way, you know. But if in the corner, if you're hearing like lions in the camp, and I did hear that a lot with in a few past fights he's had, you know, you've got to be telling that fighter when you're in the corner, look, you're doing that wrong. You know, he should have pressed that fight much earlier. You know, he's a strong kid. He's got all the attributes. He can punch. You know, why did he not do in the last round and do it earlier on? Why wait all that time? You know, I heard what Anthony had to say, and he said, oh, you just can't walk in like a bull in a china shop. That's true. But with his head movement and the build of him, you know, against a tall fighter, why stand off a tall fighter when, one, you're a puncher, one, you're shorter, yeah? You get in and rough it up. You know, Mike Tyson doesn't stand off jabbing people, does he? And trying to beat the jab. Mike Tyson's in because he's got a box to his attributes. That's all I'm saying.
You find a technique to make it work as soon as possible. The sooner you're doing your job and not letting your opponent do their job, you're in control of the fight. Yeah. The longer you're waiting, anything can happen.
All of what Yard done there is just wait and got on the end of a jab. And he got controlled by the jab.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what shouldn't have happened. He should have went downstairs to the body and worked his way up. The head's not available. Hit the body.
I got to admit, I was quite happy because I hadn't got a prediction right since Dillian Whyte and Povetkin, and it was the first one I got right in about a month. So I was relieved because I thought I was starting to go crazy because I was getting every fight wrong that I picked. So I picked.
I said, well done to Lyndon Arthur though, because let's not take anything away from him. He's a good fighter, and the better man won on the night.
Yes,
you know he did. He had a superb boxing plan. What a beautiful jab he's got.
I think the boxing fundamentals won, didn't it?
And let's not criticise too much with Yard because that jab, he found it just too much. He couldn't get past it.
Yeah, him
only in the last round where
he
decided.
Yeah,
like I said, it was last round where he decided to think, oh, you know, fuck this, I'm going to get stuck in. Should have done it much earlier.
Yeah. I just think perhaps he was worried about blowing the gas tank out because he went against Kovalev and then there wasn't much left after a big effort. So I think that might be in the back of Yard's brain now that if I go too early, I've still got rounds to do afterwards. Not sure. But it's interesting. It's either going to make him or break him, I think. I think it's the kind of fight where we see what happens.
Look, if he's not sparring as well, that's a major defect. You know, look, I'm a stickler for sparring. Let's put it this way. When Hughie's camp starts, he does the training, he does the cardio, he does all the sprints, he does all the running machines. But when I walk in that gym and I say, right, sparring started, forget the rowing machines, yeah? Forget the weights, forget the fucking lot. Pads, boxing. You know,
can I ask as well, Peter?
I'm not interested in being body beautiful, yeah? It's no point having all that, you know. I can hit a sledgehammer, hit a tyre 100 mile an hour, yeah? When they get in the ring, I've got no time in there. I want to see what it is. When your camp starts, sparring, eat, rest, technical work, sparring, correcting. That's what you need to be doing on a world level.
Couple of questions here, Peter. Just a quick question I want to ask before I ask these. How many weeks of sparring do you do in an average camp with like your fighters?
Well, probably around anything around eight weeks.
Cool. Just got two questions. Let me get them back up, Peter. First one. Hi guys, what do you think of the Taylor Ramirez fight? What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I think he's very good, Taylor, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't see him getting beat in a hurry. I think he's a fabulous talent. I see him going very far in the sport. You know, he seems to do everything right.
And I think Taylor's the type who might... I think Taylor's the type who might sparkle more with the better the opposition, myself. So it could be amazing. The next one, Peter.
Like I said, fabulous talent all round.
Next question. Tony Baker asked this. How does Peter think Tyson will do against AJ? I bet that's a question you've been asked a lot, Peter.
Yeah, you know, look, anything can happen in heavyweight boxing. It's a good fight, and it'll be good when it happens.
He'll make them both very, very wealthy, man, and that's the important thing of prize fighting. It's nice to have a fight, but
yeah, exactly.
That could be a fight. I personally think that could be like perhaps the highest paying British fight in history. I think. What do you think, Peter?
You know, I think so. You know, why not? You know, it's going to be it's amazing for boxing, and like I said, everybody deserves what they get. Don't forget, they've put their lives into the sport.
Yeah.
You know, they've done it all their life. So obviously, you know, it's the heavyweight division and it's at the pinnacle of the career. So why not? You know, everybody else gets paid well. Why shouldn't they?
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. It's the plaudits are nice, but these lads deserve their money. Pete, we've talked about Mick's show. We've talked about Hughie. We've talked about your fighters. Can I just ask before I go on to some of the other questions? Have you got any prospects in the camp that you're working with? Because I know you keep a small camp. But is there anyone coming through that we need to know about? Anyone to keep an eye on?
I haven't, to be honest with you, John. I'm just working with Hughie. Obviously, I'm working with Savannah, and I'm just, fate is what it is. Unless I see somebody that I really like, and I think to myself, yeah, I could do something with you, then I'm just doing my thing, really.
By an amazing coincidence, Peter, there's a lad who's just popped up as I asked you that question. If you get your chance, have a look at him. Patsy Joyce. He's a young lad. He's about 15, 16. He's a fabulous amateur. So, Patsy, you've just seen that Peter's got no prospects to work with at the moment. So, Patsy
Well,
might be
you
the man
never
for
know.
you.
But look, you know, that young boy, you know, he's got a good fighting family at the back of him. And I'm sure, you know, watching him on the pads and stuff, they know just as good as boxing as I do. And, you know, they speak to me quite regular over the...
You already... Yeah. Just when he popped up, then I was like, that's mad
No,
coincidence.
they do. They speak to me quite regular on social media, you know, and it's good. It's I think he's a fabulous young talent, and he's going to do good things. He is.
I think so as well.
Comes from a good stock of fighting people, so it's going to be good for him. He's got a good future.
That's good. Right, Pete, I'm going to keep asking the questions as they come. But what I'd like to ask you now, as something I want to ask you, who's kind of your top favourite fighters through history, and who maybe influences your training style? Because I know you like to watch the old stuff. So this is something I want to ask you.
I'm going to tell you something, yeah? I'm not influenced by anybody the way I train a fighter.
No?
You know, this is hand on my heart, you know, and I'm a big fan of all the fighters, you know, go right back to, you know, Jack Dempsey, you know, Jack Johnson, you know, John L. Sullivan, all them type of fighters. I used to read books, you know, especially when I was having a long time on vacation, you know. I used to go in the library and get whatever books I could get. And, you know, the only thing I was interested in was boxing. I didn't give a shit about the other books. So, like I said, you know, and I've always, you know, all the fighters of the past eras, you know, I'm a fan of them all, you know. So, yeah, I like that. But I look at fighters and train fighters what they need to do for themselves. You know, I look at the fighter and you think, right, what are you good at? What are you not good at? And, you know, you just develop them a style which is good for them. You know, It's like Savannah, you know, she's long, she's loose. You know, she's got that sway with her. So, you know, she's got a style to match her personality. You know, there's no point giving a fighter with a certain DNA another style altogether, which doesn't even match theirs. You know, so that's my belief, really. I pull the best out of the fighter. That's it. I get their attributes, and I'll tweak it, and I'll just work away and do the best I can. Whether it's the right or wrong, I'm not sure, but that's my belief. You know,
You commit to it, yeah. You commit to it,
and I just get them to do what I think is the right way.
Another one, kind of concerning historical stuff, because I always like to ask it's a question I always ask. Out the four kings, Hagler, Hearns, Roberto Duran, and Sugar Ray Leonard, who did you think was the best? But also, who was your personal favourite? Because it's a different one for each question for myself. So, who do you think was the best? But who was your personal favourite out the four?
Well, I like Sugar Ray Leonard for a start. You know, brilliant boxer. The speed of him and the accuracy of his punches was unbelievable. Marvin Hagler, big fan of him. Tommy Hearns, big fan of him. I can't split him, I've got to tell you. You know, Roberto Duran, excellent fighter. But if I had to pick, you know, I'd pick them three over Roberto Duran for some reason. Yeah. Don't ask me why.
Got you right. And have you got a personal favourite? Not regarding who's the best. Is there any that you rooted for a bit more than the others? Or was the first three quite equal in your eyes?
Quite equal, but like I said, you know, I did like... I'm getting amnesia here. So, what's the other one?
Leonard, Hearns.
Leonard. I did really like him. You know, the boxing skill he had. You know, I really liked that fight. And I thought, I know Hagler was upset at the time, but I thought he got outboxed that night. I thought he did lose that fight.
Yeah,
You know, I've even watched it back not so long ago, and you know, I had him not by much, but I had him losing it. Them quick combinations was scoring left, right, and centre. You know, so
and
he
Leonard
was
was
just
very smart,
exceptional.
wasn't he? He made everything in the negotiations. He got the gloves he wanted. He got the ring he wanted. I seen an interview he done, and he says I kind of won that fight outside the ring because he says I got everything I wanted. He says, and Hagler was so desperate to get it, he let me have all that stuff as well.
Well, it's a big thing because in boxing, especially on a world level, if you want to take second best, you're already on a downer. You know, you do what's best for your fighter, and that's it. And I don't want to. When we go into fights, I don't want an advantage. I'm not into a cheap job. We just want things to be fair. You know, if somebody's got smaller gloves, you know, no problem. If you want more or less latex gloves, give us the same. You know, if you want proper gloves, give us the same. There's all kinds of things what try and go on, but luckily to say, it's not often. It's only like petty little things, really. That doesn't mean much. You know,
The
what
trouble
usually
is, the
happens.
little things can perhaps upset a fighter. They might not mean nothing physically, but if they upset them mentally 1%, sometimes that's the Klitschko's were masters at trying to get little advantages, wasn't they? That wasn't a big deal, but if you upset the fighter, you've got them going. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's why you need a good team. You know, when you're up against it, you know, things happen for the right way, and you've got to deal with things yourself. You don't ask the fighter. The fighter's there to do the fighting. It's your job to do everything else and make sure everything is right.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do.
Just had a good question here from Phyllis Spin, Peter. Can you ask Peter what he thinks of the Bridgerweight division?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good because you've got a lot of fighters who are like 6'3", bordering around 6'3", 6'4", and you know, they're all around the 15 stone, 15 and a half stone.
Yeah.
They're built well, but you know, that size does make a difference. And you know, look, the big guys, you know, today, you know, it's like Hughie. You know, he's not a massive heavyweight, but he's still 6'6" and 17 and a half stone. You know, when you're pitting somebody against, you know, we seen it with Usyk the other day. You know, he's really got to box overtime to keep these big guys off him because of the weight scenario.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what you're looking at. So it is. So I think a Bridgerweight's good.
Yeah, I think so as well. What you're saying about Hughie there is what makes it amazing, Peter, is Hughie's actually bigger than Jez Willard, who at the time was like a giant of a man, the biggest man in the world. And Hughie, who's like you say, is not a huge heavyweight, was actually bigger than. I think he's probably around the same size, not quite as heavy as Primo Carnera, who again was classed as like this giant of a man. It just shows how people are getting bigger and going forward and nutrition and stuff.
They're getting ginormous, you know, and you know, my father was only 5'8" stroke 5'9", and you know, there was me. My other brother was pretty tall, and all of our children. You know, I'm dwarfed in my family altogether. I'm the smallest there.
Yeah.
You know, they're all head and shoulders over me.
And you're not a small guy, Pete.
So like
just had a question off Owen 0709. Can you ask Peter how far he thinks Nathan Gorman can go?
Again, he's got the heart and he's got the determination there. I think he can. I think Nathan's got to take his time. You know, get in proper good condition. You know, and let his boxing do the talking. You know, everybody thinks, oh, I want to land a big punch, but I'll say this: all heavyweights can punch.
Yeah,
there is not you know, it's just how they go about it. But all heavyweights can hit. But I think young Nathan, I think he'll do well. But again, they've got to get the right advice, train right, and if you want to succeed in this job, you've got to eat, drink, sleep, repeat, nothing else.
Yeah, you're right. A question again, going to go into a bit of historical stuff. Being a heavyweight coach and having guys in world heavyweight title fights, who's your favourite heavyweight of all time? Doesn't even have to be a champion. Who's the guy, if you see a flash of him, you sit down and watch that fight every time?
You know, it's hard to say. There's so many again, you know. I like them all. You know, I've got to say Ali was a very big favourite of mine. You know, because of the man's beliefs and what he believed in. He was a godly person as well. And as you can see, he was a very genuine man. He gave millions away to charities and stuff. He was a good man, Muhammad Ali. You know, so somebody like him. Who else? I liked all the good fighters, even in my day. You know, Vander Holyfield. I was a big fan of him. What a good fighter he was. He was only a light heavyweight. And
Yeah.
look how he come up through the ranks. You
And
know,
yeah,
and
really
Riddick Bowe as well.
determination.
I liked Riddick Bowe as well. Although he put the world title in the bin, still he was a very good fighter, and he had some cracking fights with Holyfield as well, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he had some
So,
cracking fights. Full stop.
yeah, even Mike Tyson. You know, looking back at his career, the pummeling he took of James Buster Douglas was not normal.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, again, that man showed his heart and determination. You can see what real champions are made of because he took some stick. You
yeah,
know, and he got stopped because he had no option. He just got beat to death.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so like I said,
And he was still trying to get up.
yeah, exactly. He's still trying to put a gum shield in his mouth. So like I said, all these type of fighters. So there is too many really. But Ali for the things he done in boxing and outside of boxing is to be credited.
Got another couple of questions before we start to finish up because these are only an hour long. Somebody just asked Peter, I can't remember the name, I apologise. What advice have you got for someone starting boxing?
Someone starting boxing. Be prepared to put your whole life into it. Because if you don't and somebody else is, then you got to look at yourself where you're going to be. Because and you need to be guided right. You need a good team, and you need to be dedicated, like I said, and just keep learning and learning and learning. You know, there'll be down times, same as what there is in all walks of life. There's always down times in life, especially when you're learning. You know, no matter how great fighters are, the polished article, it's not like that when they're coming through.
Yeah.
You see everything. There's a lot of emotions involved. There's a lot of everything under the sun. But that's normal. Understand we're all human and everybody's the same. Everybody goes through the same feelings, yeah? When you can't get things right, things ain't going right. But when it's not going right and you can't get things right, that's what makes champion material. Because it's how you come back. It's what you do when things ain't going right. It's where you're prepared to take stock, you're prepared to listen and take good advice. And that's it. Just work hard and keep progressing because nothing is ever right, and it's never going to be right. There's always improvements to be made. If you think I'm a world champion, I've got everything right, you're wrong. You've got to keep improving. You've got to keep shining that stone always. That's boxing.
Right. If I've missed any questions while we was listening to Peter's answer, I'm sorry. But next question, Pete. We've still got a few minutes left. How do you think Luke Campbell v Ryan Garcia will go?
On paper, it should be Luke Campbell all day. You know, but Ryan Garcia, we've seen it, could be a very exceptional talent. We're going to see. Because I haven't seen much of him. The only thing I've seen is him hitting a speedball bouncing up and down about 300 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's impressive, but that doesn't mean anything to me. I want to see what he's like.
Yeah,
yeah. You know, hitting the pads, you know, what is that? So let's see. But he's a fabulous young talent. But on paper, Luke Campbell should come through that, you'd think, pretty easy.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But again, that's what makes boxing so exciting. It can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right, just this is actually a question. I thought it was a question. Can you tell Peter? I think he's the most underrated trainer in boxing, and I think a lot of boxers should approach him. That's from Baba Rat. I can't even pronounce your name, mate. It's about 15 letters long. But thank you for that. Will Tyson and Hughie ever patch things up? That's a question that's just been asked, Peter. I don't know, but Peter, will Tyson and Hughie ever patch things up?
Family's family, you know. My family is a private issue, and the main thing is Tyson keeps winning, does well in his career, and also Hughie keeps winning and does well in his career. You know, that's the main thing for me.
Exactly, yeah. Pete, last question from me, unless something comes up before we go. From the response I've had on here, people have really enjoyed this. After we've got our respective shows out the way this weekend, would you come back on and talk about them and preview Mick's show the week after?
Of course I would, John. Anything, you know. And it's like I said, if I can do anything for Mick, and you know, I'm always there. You know, like I said, and he's always there for me. So anything I can do is not a problem.
Question here, Pete, because they have got some in there. They've realised we're going. Would Peter take somebody like Anthony Yard, would you take on somebody, Pete, who's already well into their career?
To be honest, I'm dealing with my son right now. I'm dealing with Savannah, and I'm just looking to do that at the moment. So I'm perfectly happy with what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to getting this fight out with Hughie now, and having a good relax. I'm going to spend Christmas with my mother, and then I'm going to Spain for a week, and I'm going to my place over in the south of France, and I'm going to stay there. I might even stay there for 2 months. This is the thing. When you take fighters on and you do this, you've got to have that commitment. The good thing with Savannah and Hughie, they'll work around me. I could say, listen, I'm staying in Spain. I'm staying in France. Come over here and we'll do it here. I'm that type of a person. I can't be stuck in one place. I can't walk in a gym, come out, walk in a gym, come out. I get sick of looking at it.
Yeah.
So I like a bit of I like to move around, and that's it. Listen, you can learn your tactics and you can fight anywhere. The main thing is, on that fight day, all my fighters are ready. They're ready to go. Yeah. That's what matters.
Fair play. Pete, well, we're coming up to the hour that we're allowed on Instagram before they shut us off. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everyone seems to have enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll both be talking about our great weekend sometime next week.
Well, I hope all the fans enjoy the fights, and let's get Saturday here and do what we do best.
Well, I'll be watching, Pete, and I'll be cheering Hughie on. Best of luck, and
Thank you, John.
I'll see you soon, yeah?
Really nice speaking with you.
And you, buddy. See you soon.
All the best, John.
See you, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.